everyone, and welcome to my channel. For this week's episode, I'm going to be hacking an Ikea Alex drawer unit. I'm going to be painting the body of the unit in a chalk paint and applying a wood grain technique to the front of the drawers using a wood grain rocker, water-based stains, and some art brushes. I will remove and exchange the casters, which are plastic, with some nicer brass ones. And finally, I will add some brass label plates to the front of the drawers to give it a more apothecary type styling. And hopefully give this pretty average looking set of drawers a nicer, more updated look. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I just assembled the Alex drawer unit that I'm going to be using as a printer stand and to store my art prints. And its color is kind of hard to see here. It's like a bluish gray, which is a nice color, but unfortunately it is not going to go with my room. This was the only color available at my local Ikea. So I'm planning on painting it with this chalk paint in the linen white. I'm using a 120 grit sandpaper. You could probably get away with an even finer grit. Just be careful if you're using an orbital sander, as it's super easy to gouge the surface, which is essentially just cardboard. I'm using Sherwin-Williams bonding primer for laminates and plastics. Without it, my paint will not stick. 2 coats of chalk paint was all I needed for the body of the unit. Now it was time to work on the drawers. I'm using Retik liquid wood and golden pine for my base coat. This product makes the surface behave like wood, so it will accept the stain. My goal is to simulate the warm golden tones of this treated pine unit I used to store my art supplies, as the Alex unit will be next to it in the room. After applying 2 coats of the Retik golden pine, I realized I may have gone a little too dark and needed to bring back some highlights. What I'm doing here is adding Retik in bleached wood with a dry brush. I'm applying it in random areas and being equally random in the amount I put down, allowing for brighter highlights in some areas. Now it's time to have some fun. I'm using Simon water-based stains in 3 colors: sesame, golden wheat, and chamois. I'm applying the stain liberally, using sesame and golden wheat as my main colors and coming in with the chamois in select areas to give me those redder tones. I'm not worried about even coverage. I'm being random in the amount I lay down across the board to allow variation in the value of the grain. Don't rub the stain in. Let it sit on the surface. You need to be able to move the material around in the next step. The most satisfying part is pulling the rocker across the surface of the board and seeing the cool grain pattern you get. There really is no wrong way to do this, but make sure you start the rocker right at the edge of the board or you'll get this weird gap like I did. You can rotate your wrist as you slide down the board to vary the pattern. You can also alter the pressure you put down to alter the contrast. The harder you press, the more stain that will get pulled away, giving you higher contrast. I followed up with some dry brush blending to soften the contrast in areas. This is what gives it more realism. If I were to leave it as is, it would look a little too perfect and lack the randomness of value and contrast you'd see in nature. Using a smaller, soft, bristled brush really helps to further refine areas that you wish to blend down. It will give a little more control and precision. You can also use detail brushes to paint knots and imperfections you'd find in wood. Here I am taking it a step further and using a rag to further blend down select areas, leaving other areas untouched. I am very happy with the Saman water-based stains. Super easy to work with, excellent variety in colors, non-streaking, easy to blend, and completely odorless, which allowed me to work inside my tiny apartment without worrying about fumes. And cleanup is super easy with just soap and water. After completing the front of the boards, I finally addressed the edges, dabbing stain with a sponge and varying the pressure in order to vary the value. The next day I came in with some golden wheat stain to tone and subdue certain areas, further blending and giving more variation to the value and the contrast. After everything was completely dry, I applied a clear coat of Varathane water-based polyurethane in a glossy finish. While not perfect, I think I did a pretty good job of matching that pine storage unit I was basing my work on, and I'm fairly pleased with the outcome. Next, I added brass card holders to the drawers, making little pilot holes with my drill before adding the screws. I finished assembling everything following the Ikea instructions. And now I have a stylish new printer stand and a place to store my art and photography prints. I hope you enjoyed this video and hopefully it inspires you to try this technique on your own work. Please don't forget to subscribe and join me on my next project. I have included links to my materials in the description down below. Thanks again for watching.